That's the engine we put on it. However long ago that was, 3 or 4 months ago, not sure. We're gonna go ahead and throw away that cover, but we get that peeled off and see about getting this thing fired up, get the battery in it. Well, she needs a pretty heavy cleaning. That's my trolling motor deck that I built. Works pretty well. I built this, welded it all up. That way I wouldn't have to drill any holes in the boat. It's in pretty good shape, so it's all mounted to the deck there. Well, the ignition key is down there dangling. I didn't want to put it back in there until I made sure that all the wires were perfect. Got the battery back in it. I got all the cables and everything hooked up. So I want to see first, make sure that it's in neutral. Which it is. Okay. I'm just gonna bump the key and see if it spins the engine. It had gas in the carburetor, so if I wired everything right, it might pop. Of course, it's been months. I'm just gonna bump it. Oops. Whew. Switch got hot real fast. I think it did. Well, I would say on a typical average Sunday morning that anytime you hit the key and it spins for a second and then does nothing, typically that means you've blown an electrical joint, usually corrosion, weak battery post, but could also be a dead battery. But with the battery on, the tilt and trim goes up and down with gusto, so I don't think that's the problem. Got my ground wedged into a ground on the carburetor mount there. Got the other one here. So the way this is hooked up, positive and negative battery cables come straight in here. That's your main ground of the engine block. That's your starter solenoid. So we'll check right here for main battery power. We got that. See that little red wire there? That little fella goes up through that harness up into here and powers up this side of the power strip, whatever needs power, which in this case, this should have power on it, because this one here is your main power feed, goes up to the controls. This cable goes right to the ignition switch and then comes back. So the big red one supplies power, and that operates the choke and everything else. But you can see what all that stuff is here. So we're gonna check that post. And we got nothing. So that red wire goes straight to this fuse breaker here, which a lot of the older boats don't have. So we'll check voltage there. It'll have an in and an out. And we've got no voltage there. Let's see, next one. Oh, we got voltage there, so I'm not getting voltage through this circuit breaker. That's on the bottom, that's on the top. Here we are in the floor of the old boat. Remember I said it felt like the ignition switch got hot? Keep in mind, I did not wire this mess. So this little fella here is what got hot. So originally this blue wire here went straight down to the ignition switch. This is a feed for a magneto, or the magneto, but it's disconnected and run up through this blue wire up there to that switch you see with the red butt connector. So here's that little switch I pulled out of the dash. I'm trying to remember what that switch did. I think it was just an ignition kill, like it killed power to the coil. But that's going back through a magneto wire to the back. So, and on here, this is where the blue wire to the switch is getting power, which is from 12 volt ignition. And here we have an empty post for a magneto. So we've got one magneto wire over here and another there. So I think what I must have done, this being my mistake, I must have wired the 12 volt kill switch, the ignition switch, through the magneto wire since I wasn't using it in the other motor. So this is my mistake, but I'm gonna go consult the manuals, but I'm fairly blue wire for the mag. Should go to this other wire with the mag here. So I think I disconnect this wire, cut that switch out of the loop, hook the blue back here. I think it'll be fine. 6 years ago, What do you want? Huh? I don't need your help. Anyways, I'm gonna hop up in there and delete that blue jumper wire in the switch, and I bet you $100 that fuse don't trip. That just goes to show you, never assume that your fuse protection system has failed, that you have a bad breaker, or the fuse is popped just because it's a weak fuse. Always do your proper troubleshooting. Oh, looks like my helper's in the boat now. Another helper. Okay, so I'm gonna reset this fuse. I bet you she don't pop up this time. See if it makes me a liar. Nope. See, does my choke work? Yep. That means that my motor's gonna spin. Starter may not, but oh, that made that chicken mad. Looks like I need to lube that thing. It's got probably 14-month-old fuel in it. Now, I don't know if the fuel pump works. I would assume it does. It looks pretty clean. Okay, bulb got tight. The starter started to loosen up. Probably got dust in it. That engine cover wasn't fastened real well. So we're gonna see if she'll run. Turn her a little bit. You might see some exhaust. Let's try it. Ignition on. Give her a little more choke. We'll give her just a crack of throttle here. Just need to see it move a little. That moved. Try it again. Should run now. Next time you see us, we'll be sitting in the water. Gotta get my trolling motor hooked up. That's my emergency motor. Well, we're about to put it in the water and see if it does boat stuff. Keep you posted. Okay, we're floating. We don't know if the motor's gonna run yet. This could be a really short trip, but we're gonna find out. So he's gonna aim it at the motor and see what happens. We'll drop it in the water. Almost. Gotta re-choke it. Hit the primer bulb a time or two. Yep, that's what I forgot to do. Had I primed it, she'd have took off. Are you aiming your camera or? adjust the idle, but we got it running, still a little fast, but the motor's a little cold. So we're gonna see if it'll go in gear and idle out. Go ahead and name it down. We give it a little throttle. Well, I reckon we got to call that a win. We made it back. Ran all right. I mean, it is very unhappy at idle and, you know, the first 25% of the throttle operation. Once you get the old girl to about 35% throttle, she takes off. She's a rocket. I mean, it just runs flawlessly, as you've seen in the clips. Just the idle, unhappy. More than likely, it's carburetors. Got 2 of them, like you saw. So what I'm going to do is I'll pull these carbs off and go through and rebuild them. I did not do that when we did the Will It Run. It wasn't necessary, just to find out if the engine was solid. So now that I know that it runs great when the carburetors are happy, I'll do that, you know, off camera. We'll just bring this little deal to a close, call it a win, and I appreciate y'all following along.